So I would like to talk about Skype, and in our audience, you're most famous for creating and developing Skype.
Yeah.
And in 2005, Skype was sold to eBay for approximately $2.6 billion. But after 2 years, eBay needed to write down the value of the investment in the company, and some doubted if eBay had done a good acquisition. Now, I'm wondering, what was your thought during this period, and what was your thought after the company was bought by Microsoft in 2011?
Which was the third company after Kazaa, and then we did a company called Jolted, and then kind of morphed into Skype. Our ambition was to build a company that would be kind of winning or be the kind of the fabric of when telephony moves online. We wanted to be that company, and we thought that everyone's going to talk to each other forever. And so that's a company that should exist for a very, very long time. So back then we thought like 15 years, we said, which is like a very long time. And it was kind of 15 years ago now, approximately, when we started Skype. It's still around. So in that way we achieved that. But we wanted to build, we were inspired. When I started, I was inspired by people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, who built companies who became long-term companies. That's what we wanted to do. We didn't build something to sell it. So when we, in 2005, a few things happened. One was that we were growing like crazy, fastest growing, and we had benchmarked, like me and my co-founder, half jokingly, when we started Skype, we said, like, obviously it has to be bigger than Kazaa, which was 500 million downloads. We kind of said it to ourselves, but we were serious. But we also knew that it's a very small chance it will happen. So we were very lucky that it took off, and we had like 20 million users, which was a lot back then. Today it's not so much. But our competitors were Microsoft Messenger, and AOL Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, and Google. Were about to get into the market, but all these big giants, which were back then the big online companies, they had told us that they were going to compete with us. They're going to convert their messaging service apps to also have voice and video. So we said, "Oh shit, that's a problem because they're so big, and they're like 140 million users, which was like everyone online basically back then. It's equivalent to how big Facebook is today." So we didn't know, like, will they crush us? One of them crushes. Now we have 4 of the biggest players going to compete with us. Will they crush us, or do we have network effects and brand recognition so that we will sustain or prevail? We tried to analyze this, like realize it's a binary outcome. We don't know. So we tried to partner with them. We went to see them, and it's like, hey, can we have a partnership with you? You can invest in our company, and we can give you a white label. And all came back and said, no, we're going to either want to buy you or we want to compete with you. So we had a really very, very good problem to solve, very luxurious problem, a problem that is nice to have. Should we sell or should we raise money and continue? So we decided to sell because we recognized that it was also very likely that it would go to zero. And because there was several of the competitors wanted to buy us, we could get a really high strategic premium. So eBay, paid the most. We negotiated with them and managed to sell. So they paid more than the others. And the other thing was also they were happy for us to be independent, so we can continue to run. So I stayed on for 2 years to run the company. Now, because eBay is a public company, which is then valued based on typically a multiple on revenues, Skype was much more of a like aspirational acquisition. We had revenues, but not the revenue. The price per revenue was much. That multiple was way bigger than eBay had in the public market. So, and the monetization was growing, but not as fast as maybe they had hoped. So at some point, they decided they needed to take a down. Now, and then after that, it's a bit long-winded answer, but it's a good case study. After that, there was a management change in eBay. The new management said we need to focus on e-commerce. So Skype, great company, doesn't fit our strategy. So we wanted to sell. They wanted to sell the majority of it. And then there was a buyout group, so it was some private equity firm. Me and my co-founder, we still loved the company, we still had the passion, so we participated in that buyout because we were so, of course, emotionally attached, and we saw that we could do more with it. So I think the price that we bought it out from was about the same as eBay paid for it. But then a few years later, the objective was to go public on the stock market, and then Microsoft came with a very, very big takeout offer and swooped it up. So, and that was like a bit, but the first time we sold the company, it was very, very emotional, like super emotional. It was like what should we do? Oh, this, again, it was luxury thing was still very hard. The second time was much more like me thinking like, first of all, I was one of the many decision makers. So I could not decide. I mean, I could have had a vote on the board, but that was much more of a financial decision. It would have been. I personally would have thought it would be better if the company went public, because then we had another big public European tech company. But financially, it was a fantastic outcome, and also for eBay, that's my kind of the point. eBay made a very good profit on the whole thing, and it's with Microsoft and. Then it's still, it's not as big, obviously, today, obviously, like, people probably using more, like, what, maybe other apps for online video. But I think that Skype really kind of innovated that category. But today, there's still, like, hundreds of millions of people using Skype every day, and what's very using it to stay in touch with families. So I'm still kind of, I'm still very, very proud and pleased of where the company is today, but I'm not that emotionally attached to it. I kind of, because I'm always looking forward instead of looking back.